Hello everyone. Welcome to my first live on TikTok. I thought I would just click the button and press start before I overthink it too much. So today's video is actually for the ladies. For the ladies who want to communicate things to their partners, husbands, boyfriends, but they think, look, anytime I try to do that, it's showing me lots of different things on screen. Anytime they say, look, anytime I try to communicate this, it sounds like I'm micromanaging, and it sounds like to co-host, what is this, decline? Anytime, you try to communicate something to your partner, suddenly it's like, oh, it sounds like I'm controlling him or I'm micromanaging him. And let's be honest, girls, we all have a little bit of that. Monica from Friends, that little perfectionist who thinks she knows it, who thinks she has the right way of doing it. I'm a bit guilty of it. So in this live, I'm gonna share with you one really good formula that you can use when you're communicating with people, with your partner mostly. And he will do what you want, and he will be happy to do that, and he'll be a winner, you'll be a winner. So let's get into it. First of all, guys or girls, hello to guys if you're guys here as well. Oh, people are joining, this is exciting. Again, this is my first live, so I've kind of no idea what's happening on screen. There's a lot of things happening on screen. Hi everyone. Yeah, so I just want to give a little story. So the other day, a few months back actually, I was in the car with my friend and her husband, and I was in the back seat, and he's driving, and we're returning home from the shopping center. It's late, the kid is in the car, everyone wants to go home. He's driving, and then he takes a left. When he takes a left, she's like, why did you take a left? It was the right turn. Like, you're so dumb, you're so stupid. And she snapped, he retaliated, and then the bickering commenced, and the mood was sour for the rest of the journey. Now, as a passenger, guys, please don't invite me to co-host. Please. Not yet. This is my first live. So in this situation, I was just sitting there thinking, oh God. And nothing makes a man feel more like a child than somebody in the passenger seat, his woman, telling him what to do, right? I'll get back to the story in a while, but in this scenario, what she was doing, she was communicating to him, I don't trust you to take the lead. I don't trust you to get us home safe. And this is what the man hears. The man hears, I'm incompetent, I'm useless. And obviously, if the man has any masculinity in him, any backbone, he's going to retaliate, right? Two types of men. One man will retaliate, he'll become more combative. And the second type of a man is going to become more passive, more infantile, more relaxed, right? I'm going to give example of that later on in this video. But you don't want that passive man either, right? So it's up to us women to communicate what we want in a healthy way. So when we're micromanaging, directing, controlling behavior, correcting, look, this is how you do it, this is the way you cut this carrot, like, I'm saying this because I do this, I have my way of doing things, and I hear myself, but I don't actually, like, once I'm aware of what I'm doing, I stop doing it entirely. So even if you're just watching this video and what you take away from this is you become more aware of when you're micromanaging, then you can, even if you reduce this micromanagement by 20%, that's loads. That's enough. That's great. That's a good start. We don't need to be perfect here. We're not trying to be, if you're here with micromanaging, You can't get here immediately. Like it's a step-by-step process. So it's good to start with. Anyway, when micromanaging and controlling is in a relationship, the following happens. People start to bicker, resentment builds up, and libido dries up, sex dries up, right? And again, like I said, when there's a man, sorry, the connection is quite unstable. 1 second. 1 second. There, I opened the door, so I think the Wi-Fi should come in a little bit better. Again, if it's a man that's being micromanaged, if he's with a woman who's always telling him what to do, number one, he either becomes more combative. He's like, you can't tell me what to do, da 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 da, I'm the man, I make the decisions here. Or number two, he's like, grand, you know, he becomes passive. If you've watched, movies and TV series are great examples. If you've watched Friends is a good example. Monica is a micromanager, right? Chandler is someone who allows himself to be controlled and micromanaged. He's kind of more passive, a little bit more infantile. Sex and the City is another great example with Miranda and her husband Steve. Miranda is one of those, like, I couldn't be with a Miranda. Like, if I were a man, I could not be with a Miranda. She's very, like, strict, very square, very close that door, turn this off, put the coaster under the cup. You know, there's when a woman enters into mom mode, and this is what we're going to talk about, mom mode, then the vacancy of the lover, sexual woman, wife, girlfriend, that opens up. So when you become a mom, there's no girlfriend there anymore. So the man is going to look for someone to fill that girlfriend lover space. You know, he will either go elsewhere to look for it, and even if he doesn't go and cheat on you, it's still going to be this void in your relationship. So this is important for us women to, like, not be in mom mode. Either way, guys, the relationship, it loses its playful dynamic. Attraction fades, neither understand why it has faded, and two people become very comfortable in this mom-child role. My parents are a great example of mom and child role. So it's my prerogative to not copy my parents' footsteps and to not become that person. Okay, so examples of micromanaging, pointing out, correcting flaws. Did you remember to take your vitamins? You need to take your medicine at 7 o'clock. You're watching too much TV. Turn those games off. Don't smoke. I don't like you smoking. Can you not hang out with your friends at that time? I want to do this. Let me book the doctor's appointment for you. You know, you think you're doing something good because you're reminding him, you know, take your vitamins, I'm going to book the doctor's appointment for you. But when you do that for people, people are like, okay, I don't really have to think about doctor's appointments anymore because my wife is going to do it. Okay, so we are training men to become children, right? If we want to be with a king, if we want to be with a strong masculine man, we need to give him that respect, that authority, that environment to grow. Okay, and that means by giving him that responsibility, closing your mouth every once in a while, right? Letting him make mistakes. This is the really important thing. Let me go back to the story of my friend and her husband in the car. If, like, the ideal thing to do, right? Even if they would have arrived late, right? So if anyone has just joined, the story was that I was in the car with my friend and her husband, and you know, he's driving, I'm in the back seat. He decides to take a right turn because he's been driving for 15 years. He knows where the fuck he's going. And she's like, no, take the left turn. We're going to be late if you turn this way. Da, da, da. You know, I understand why this dynamic was happening. They were having, you know, their daily bickerings. But okay, let's just take the example. Even if they were going to arrive late, even if they were going to arrive late by half an hour. Okay, 1 second. Let him make that mistake. You're going to lose short term, you're going to arrive late, okay, but you're going to win long term because you are not micromanaging him, you're allowing him to take responsibility for that mistake. You know, you just keep quiet, or, you know, oh look, you know, we took the wrong turn, that's fine, whatever, let's put on a playlist and we have half an hour in the car now, let's enjoy ourselves, okay? The guy's already feeling a little bit ashamed that he took the wrong turn. You know, who's a guy here who feels really embarrassed when they take the wrong turn, and especially if there's people watching, you know, passengers, like people, you're like, you already feel a little bit, oh god, that's, I wish I didn't do that. Like, let the man fester in that awkwardness, because the next time he's not going to take the wrong turn. You know, let the man forget the keys, right? If the man is usually the one in charge of taking the keys when you leave the house and he forgets, don't freak out at him. Let him forget the keys. Like, this happened with my husband. Oh my god, I was livid on the inside, and I was so disappointed because I was like, oh my god, he can't even remember to take the keys. But I kept my mouth shut. I kept it goddamn shut. And god, did he felt it. He felt, you know, he felt the gravity of the situation, and he felt my silence was already showing my displeasure. You know, I can't be all happy and be like, oh, that's okay, babe, that's okay. No, like, I'm not gonna shout at you, I'm not gonna give out to you, but I'm gonna be silent. And now he always remembers the keys. Now he even jokes about it. He's like, did you take the keys? So he suffered, like, he festered in this awkwardness, and now he takes the keys, okay? So you're gonna lose short-term, girls, by, you know, you get locked out of the house, you miss the party because you arrive half an hour later, but we're like, this is long-term. Any relationship is, my intention in relationships, or when I give relationship advice, it's about long-term, okay? So guys, I got my notes here. Okay, so the formula for speaking to men when you want them to do something. It's really important to understand the difference between how you speak to your man as a mom, like mom mode. Oh my goodness. I did monkey bars yesterday for the first time. I did like 6 monkey bars and freaking pierced my skin. It was horrible. So the difference between speaking to your mom from a mom position, like you do this, or from a girl position, a sexy lover, girlfriend, wife role, is the mom, she controls the process, and the lover, she controls the result. Let me give you an example, baby. Okay, example 1. He spends all of his discretionary income on his hobbies, maybe video games, his Lord of the Rings collection, buying whatever vintage cars, whatever men spend their money on that we don't understand, right? Silly things, okay? As a result, there is not enough money at the end of the week to go on a date together or to save up for a holiday. Hey girl, hey Ruta, I see you. So at the end of the week, because he's spending all of his money on his whatever things, there's not enough money to go on a date, right? Mom mode would be, stop spending your money on games. Stop buying all of your little shitty Lord of the Rings things. Like, we don't have enough money. I want to go on a date. There's not enough money to go on a date. It's because you're spending money. Okay? That is mom mode. When you're in mom mode, what the man does is he digs his freaking heels in and he's like, you can't tell me what to do, etc. And then you don't get what you want. Now, the girl mode, or the lover mode, the clever woman mode, is you start off by telling him, look, babe, it's really important that we spend quality time together every week. I feel a lot closer to you, and I would really love for us to go on a date at least once a week. Ideally twice, but you know, once a week would be great. I'd love to go to maybe the cinema or for a meal. It would make me very happy. How does that sound to you? So you approach him by telling him, this is what I want, this is what I need, and then you go and you're specific with what exactly that you want. It's not like, babe, I just want to be closer to you, and give me a plan. Men need a plan. Men need, bullet points. So you tell him, I need to go to, I want a date once a week. The kind of date that I want is I want to go to the cinema, or I want to go to whatever. And then you say, how does that sound to you? So you open up a dialogue. You let him say, oh yeah, that sounds great. Now, how he gets that extra money to go on dates, not your problem. Does he get a second job, or does he stop spending money on his Lord of the Rings collection, vintage cars? Not your problem. Not your problem. You're not managing the result. Sorry, you're not managing the process. The mom manages the process. The mom tells him, stop spending money on games, stop da-da-da-da. You tell him what you want. Babe, I'd love to go on a date with you. Can we do the cinema, da-da-da. The result, how he gets to that result, isn't your freaking problem, okay? He's a grown-ass man. He's going to decide, okay, she needs to go on a date, or we need to go on a date. We need to have money at the end of the week. Okay, I've been spending quite a lot on my games. I'm going to cut down. The benefit of this, girls, is when a man thinks that he came up with this himself, he's going to stick to that plan, right? When we understand that this is something that this is by my own volition, I came up with this, I am going to listen to that. I'm going to go with this plan. When you go into when people go get surgery, like face surgery, they go into, and this is what I've heard from like a salesperson, so like the salespeople know what they're talking about, is the person goes into the surgeon's office clinic, and the surgeon, what does the surgeon do? Do they tell them, you need, a little brow lift, a foxy eye would look great on you? Or do they say, your nose could do with a little bit of reduction, or your lips could be a little bit plumper? No. What the surgeon does is they get a mirror, and they give it to the person. And then the person looks at their face, and then the surgeon asks them, what would you like to change about your face? And the person starts going, I would love to get a bit of a brow lift. I think it would look really nice if I had more defined, what's this called? Or when people do their cheeks. I've never gotten anything done, so I don't really know what these things are called. But, I'd love a bit of a lip filler, right? And then the surgeon says, you know what will look great on you? A little bit of a lip filler. What we could do is we could give you a little eyebrow lift, and that would make your eyes look more defined. Do you see what I mean? If the surgeon had said, you know what you need? You need a brow lift, you need your lips done, without the patient telling them what it is that they want initially, the patient would have said, what? They would have left feeling like, they're telling me what to do, they're telling me that I'm ugly, they're going to feel insecure, rather than feeling heard. When the surgeon repeats what the patient has said, the patient now feels heard and understood, and wow, this is like the best surgeon ever. Anyway, let's not deviate from our topic, but I wanted to use that example to illustrate how when people think they came up with the solution themselves, they're going to stick to that more likely. Or another example, girls. Say that he plays video games all night, he comes to bed late, you don't, watch a movie together in the evening, you don't spend quality time. Mom mode, what would a mom say? Stop playing video games, your friends are losers, why do you hang out with them? Like, we don't even spend time together, we don't watch movies together, I'm bored, da-da-da. And the guy would say, I want to play games with my friends, and he has the right to say that. You have the right to scroll on your reels and TikToks and online shop and do all of that kind of stuff. He has the right to play games. Obviously, if he's playing too much and he's not working and the kids are in the house, obviously. But let's just take a normal guy who likes to play games in the freaking evening with his friends, okay? He's allowed to do that. But as a result, like, the problem for you isn't that he's playing games. The problem for you is that you're not spending enough time together. And this is how I would approach this. You'd say, babe, I've noticed recently that we're not spending enough time together, especially in the evenings. I would really like for us to maybe watch a movie, maybe like a couple of times a week, maybe read a book together. What do you think about that? Okay, if you're a valuable woman in his life, if he respects you, if he loves you, he's going to be like, okay, let me think. You're not telling him to dump his friends. You're not telling him what he needs to do. He is now thinking, what is the solution? Okay, maybe I can play with my friends a bit earlier on in the evening, or maybe I stop playing games completely. How he comes up with a solution isn't your goddamn problem. You are focusing on the result. You want more quality time in the evenings. You would like to watch a movie once a week together and a show a couple of times a week. This is your requirement. Now, it's really important, girls, that we have reasonable asks and reasonable requirements. Okay? Be fair. Be fair. Saying like, okay, I want to go on an expensive date every week. I want you to take me to Paris once, I want to go on a holiday once a month. I want a Birkin bag. That's not a reasonable ask. But saying, I'd love to go on a date once a week together, that is a reasonable ask. So if your ask is reasonable, a man, like a normal man, a man who loves you, respects you, will step up. If he doesn't step up, of course this happens. If he rejects it and says, look, you're too needy, I find a way to entertain yourself. Maybe you're not entertaining yourself, okay? So some women, sometimes you need to look at it. Maybe maybe I have no hobbies. Maybe I have no external sources of excitement. Maybe I'm really stuck to him, okay? But say that you're a woman who has her friends, who has her hobbies, who has a life, right? You're not sticking to the man. You have a life, but you also have a man and you want to spend quality time with your man, okay? Your ask is reasonable. And he tells you, you're too needy, I don't need this. Then that speaks of your low value in his eyes. He doesn't see you as a dream woman, or he's way too comfortable in the relationship. And this is where you need to go off. You need to invest in yourself, raise your value. And if he doesn't step up, you need to distance yourself from him, which is another topic, a long topic. Now, so my points here. It's his decision. Sorry, it's my life. Anytime I look at my notes, I'm like, ooh. Again, you're not meddling with the process, you're focused on the result. Now, what happens when you do this correctly, girls? What happens when you focus on the result versus the process? You stop being a micromanager. Do you know, okay, I said Monica Geller from Friends is an example of a micromanager. From Sex and the City, Miranda, who's another one. I had one written down. I can't think of any people right now, but I literally had them written down. Oh, 1 second. I have Claire Dunphy. Has anyone watched Modern Family? Claire Dunphy, micromanager. Lynette Scavo from Desperate Housewives. Oh my God. When you look at these relationship guys, what usually happens is that the men that they attract are very kind of infantile. They're passive. They can't make a decision without a woman being there. And us women, we're like, we want a man's man. If we want a man's man, we need to delegate responsibility. Let them figure it out. Let them make their mistakes. Let them forget their vitamins. If he's don't remind him to take his vitamins. If he forgets, he forgets. Let him shit himself, okay? He forgets. He will learn. Next day, he's not going to shit himself anymore. Let him book his doctor's appointment. If he doesn't book it and he forgets it, that's on him. He will remember next time. The more you do things for the man, the more he enters into this passive role. Speaking from experience, watching my parents live their life. Now, so when you stop being a micromanager, you stop attracting childish men and you start attracting competent men. The childish men, they will either naturally fall away, right? And yeah, so men either naturally fall away or they step up to the occasion. If you're someone who's always, and this is just in general, girls, if you're someone who's always attracting a certain type of a man, right? It's a different man, but it's the same scenario. He's all, for example, the relationship starts off great, but then he always relaxes and then he always becomes lazy. Well, you're allowing that. You're enabling his laziness. A woman who doesn't enable that, the first few times he's lazy, right? He steps up. This man steps up because this woman is not allowing him to be lazy. If you're constantly attracting emotionally unavailable men or trash men, it's you attract the trash men. If you're a fly, like flies always attract trash. A bumblebee will attract flowers, right? So instead of looking at the people, we need to work on ourselves. So this is why I'm making this little live to kind of let you understand how we can start speaking to men, to build them and to shape them in a way that is healthy for the relationship. We're shaping men not because for our ego, not because we want to manipulate them, because this is good for them and this is good for us and this is good for the relationship. Now, when you're no longer in mom mode, you become more relaxed, you become more playful, you're happier, you're no longer managing a son, because that's what happens. Moms attract sons. That's it, girls. Moms attract sons. The couple have more fun together. Libido returns. Libido returns because, you know, he's now a man. He's stepping up as a man. She's reminding him every day that he's not a son. He's not a boy. He's a man. Make your mistakes and then take responsibility for them. We need to allow men to make mistakes. And this is really hard. Like I said, in my case with the keys, I had to, oh my God, it was killing me inside. But now he always remembers the keys. Think long-term, girls. Think long-term. So to recap, a loving woman, a wife, a sexy woman, a girly woman, she focuses on the result, and the micromanager mom focuses on the process. So girls, remember this formula, and you're going to start to get more of what you want from the people that you want it from. Thank you for joining the live. I'm going to turn off. I hope that was useful, girls. And guys, I see there's quite a few guys on the live, so thank you for being here. And I will talk to you soon.